The National Union of Mineworkers is now criticising the president as intervention to tackle the electricity crisis. It's saying that the government is rushing to privatise Eskom. We've got Khangela Baloyi, who's NUM's energy sector coordinator, who joins us now to discuss the concerns that they have raised over the last few hours since the president gave his address yesterday. Thank you very much for your time this evening, Khangela. I mean, you've heard the different voices that have weighed in on the plan that was announced by President Ramaphosa, many hailing it as something that could take South Africa out of the current electricity crisis. And now you're saying it's just a plan to privatise the state-owned entity. Why?
Yeah, no, you see, in South Africa, we have enough installed capacity. This issue of saying our problem will be resolved by bringing in more capacity in the form of renewable owned by the private people is not necessarily going to assist us. We believe that we have enough capacity, installed capacity in South Africa. The only problem that we have is the breakdowns. You know, we have 17,000 megawatts breakdown of Eskom power stations. If we can fix those power stations, actually, if we can fix 50% of the power stations that are broken down, we are able to prevent load shedding. This issue of bringing in renewable energy in the form of IPPs is a way to privatize Eskom. That's why we're saying it looks like there's a rush to privatize SOEs. Eskom, if this plan continues, is going to go the same route that Dinel and SAA took. We're going to find a situation whereby Eskom's market is saturated by IPPs, and Eskom will have no market. And then if we don't have market, you won't be able to have enough revenue. And if you don't have revenue as a company, you can't make profit. If you don't make profit, you need to close down.
Mm-hmm. Two important things that you mentioned there, Mr. Baloyi. The last point is that it will result in non-revenue being generated by Eskom and then a shutdown, which obviously will affect workers. The president highlighted yesterday that this is not a means to remove Eskom from the country's economy entirely with the replacement by renewables. It will forever remain the base load of the country in major sectors like mining. So why not allow for there to be a combination of both the renewables or other alternatives, including the baseload, which has been highlighted will remain in major industry South Africa?
You see, that's why we're characterizing this plan as a means to privatize without mentioning the word privatization. Because when there are two things that are being done. You bring in IPPs, at the same time, you deregulate, you remove the threshold that was there to prevent private companies from building power stations that are above 100 megawatts. You remove that. Now you allow private companies like mines and smelters to build their own power stations. When you do that, and then they are introducing IPPs, you are actually, in a way, taking a business away from Eskom. There's no other way of actually characterizing this except to say it's privatization of Eskom silently. You privatize without saying I'm privatizing. And if you look at the three pillars of the plan of government, as alluded to by the president yesterday, the main theme is privatize, because you bring private. You say no, we're going to bring private capital, we're going to bring IPPs, we're going to bring in renewables, but these renewables are going to be built by private companies, all you are saying is that you want to privatize. And we have seen that happening to other SOEs. But the privatization of state utilities does not work. France is presently nationalizing EDF, Electricity de France. They are nationalizing it now because privatization is not working. You know, they only privatized a few percentages of Electricity de France, but now they want to buy, it's owned 84% by government. Now they want to buy the percentages that are owned by private companies because they see that if there's a crisis in the country and your electricity systems are owned by private sectors, private sector will just close down and then you'll have a crisis. It is happening also in Australia. Australia did exactly what Eskom is proposing to do, to unbundle. They unbundled and they introduced private sector. Now, 2 weeks ago, they started to have serious problems because private companies are closing down to saying that the business is no longer profitable because electricity is becoming too expensive.
Yes, and so the solution that you indicated earlier in our conversation is that there is enough capacity, right? And all it needs is fixing. We've seen for over a decade now that Eskom has been unable to fix the capacity that it currently has. So how do you reconcile this argument of all it needs is it just needs to be fixed and everything will be fine, when for over a decade we've struggled? And even the new power stations that we had tried to build over the years have gone completely over budget and have taken way too long to introduce onto the grid. So this argument of fixing is a difficult one for the average South African or the average businessman to swallow when we can see the crisis that we are in.
No, the issue of maintaining power station, Eskom has got capacity to maintain power stations. The only problem that even the president raised yesterday, Eskom was complaining about capital. They don't have enough money to actually, they do not have enough money to do the maintenance. But now government has said the point number one, actually pillar number one on the strategy is to make money available for Eskom to be able to maintain its power stations. You know, so if you do that, and then we do have skills in Eskom, and you can even get skills from other areas. You know, bring people to Eskom, not to come and assist Eskom, but don't think that there are no skills now in Eskom. Remember, the reality is from 2016 to 2018, we never had load shedding in Eskom with the same skills, same installed capacity, because the production was happening properly then. You know, people were working, fixing the power stations. Power station managers were held accountable if the power station does not produce. You know, we can be able to fix those power stations. We have the capacity. We have done that before. You know, we just need to fix things that are not okay here and there.
It's a little bit more than here and there, Mr. Baloyi, but I will engage you further on this issue when we have some more time at another stage. Mr. Khangela Baloyi there joining us to unpack their thoughts on the announcement that, or the plan that was announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday. They're just saying it's just a way to privatize Eskom, and that, of course, puts the jobs of workers in jeopardy.